All right, so as I mentioned last time, I already talked about that most of apps need a backend to um, give you this kind of features, especially related with data. Now you create some of data in your app, and then you don't want to lose it if you change your phone or let others to see your data. Then you need to basically send that data somewhere in the server so that it can be saved remotely in the cloud, and then it can be accessed by anyone, by any devices if you allow. And also that sometimes you need some kind of complicated feature like save some of the files, the images, some of the sound, and then you just can't do all of this in the local app because your storage is limited, right? Think about YouTube app. There are billions of videos, and you can't have all the videos in the app. It's not feasible. So normally what we have is we store all the videos on the backend on the server side, and then whenever you want to play something, you ask YouTube to stream those data back to your app. All right, so the backend is very, very important. And last Monday I showed you how do you normally talk to a backend using HTTP. I showed you the basic steps, building the connection, using the background thread, and also how do you update the front-end UI. I also introduced some of the libraries. One of the most famous ones is called Retrofit that allows you to do the communication pretty easily. All right, but even with that library, communicating with the backend is still very difficult, especially with one API. You need to write a lot of code to implement it. But what if we have hundreds of APIs to do? Think about a kind of a Gmail app, and you need a lot of APIs to read emails, list emails, fetch emails, get email information, all the features about the tagging, labeling, delete, search, all of this. Each individual feature need an API to do it. All right, so working on the individual API is actually pretty complicated. So that's sometimes we need a better way, a more user-friendly type of server for us to use as a backend service to support the app. But even if we know what we want, sometimes building a server takes a lot of efforts. For those of you who have done servers, for example, you can do server using in Java. You can do Java Spring. You can do Python. You can do the Python Flask, Python Django. You can do JavaScript using Node.js. You can do PHP server. You can also do .NET server in C#. You can also have another popular option is the Ruby on Rails. So all of these frameworks you can use to build a server, but that takes a lot of time. And also, once you finish your server programming, you also need to know how to deploy your server, how do you maintain the server. You need to find the actual server machine. So the whole thing takes you a while. It can be a separate project. So for those of you who are going to take 480 with me in the fall, your course project will be building a web service, a server program. Right? How many of you are going to do the 480 in the fall? I think I asked that question. So it looks like you already finished. Then that's good. And so back here, this is just trying to show here that all the apps, you think about the user management, some of the notifications, profile management, all this information go to the backend and then go to the service. Building all of this for every individual app, takes so much effort. So that's why a few years ago there was a company. The company was called Parts, and then they built this service called Parts. So what they did was, at that time, they realized that every mobile developer needs to build a backend, but then a mobile developer normally do not have the time, experience, and resources to build a service program. So Parts, as a company, they thought that how can I make that process simpler? So they built something called a backend as a service. So if you need a backend, if you need a server, you don't need to worry about how to write all of those. And I have hosted a lot of server, and you just tell me what kind of data you need, what kind of function you want, and I can expose some of those functions to you, and then you can basically use my server as the backend for your app. So that's what Parts did. They did a lot of features. You can use the Parts to save data, to do the authentication. You can even use that to send some of the push notifications. You can send files. You can manage your entities. Add some of the social features, the event calendar, all of those. So most of the feature you need from a server side for mobile app development, you can find that in the parts. So by using parts, you just need to use their SDK and API, and then integrate that into your Android program. And you don't need to know anything about how to host the server, how to maintain the server. So it's a very convenient and successful service. So that's why after 2 years, the company was bought by Facebook. And only 2 years, they only raised 1.5, that's the Android investment, and then after that, the A round, they got a $5.5 million. And then when the company was acquired by Facebook, and Facebook paid $90 million. So that's one of the very successful startup companies 5 years ago. All right. So the reason is because that company really solved this problem about how do we simplify the construction of the server-side program. All right, so that was Parts. However, after Facebook bought Parts, only a year later, they kind of terminated this program. All right, so I don't know exactly the reason. Maybe Facebook want to build something similar. They don't want to get users distracted, so they terminated the whole Parts service. Okay, so it's not available today. But if you still want to use this, they have the code open source, so you can get the code and host it in your own service if you want. So they still make it open available, but they don't officially host it anymore. So that's when the Firebase really came and then become much more popular. In the very beginning, Parts and Firebase are the two competitors. They're both startup companies. Parts started earlier, and then they got more users, so it's more popular than Firebase. But Firebase did have some of the very cool features, and we'll talk about those features today. But the Firebase, they didn't have that many users. However, after the Parts was shut down, all the mobile developers were trying to find out alternatives, and then they all went to use Firebase. And then Firebase became so popular after the shutdown of Parts, so that Google actually bought Firebase, in 2014. All right, so they didn't really disclose how much money Google paid to buy the Firebase, but I guess it's something very equivalent to Parts. Okay, so this is a very interesting story because even today I still don't get it why Facebook wanted to shut down Parts, since they bought it and then they just suddenly didn't maintain it anymore. But right now, the Firebase, after being acquired by Google, they're still running very well, and they actually add a lot more services to make it very, very popular among mobile developers. So that's the service I would recommend for you to use if you need a backend server. Okay, so this should solve most of the problem you need, but although it's not complete to give you everything, but it should be good for you to use for most of the basic features. All right. So anyway, what you can do with Parts or Firebase, you basically have the whole backend as a service, so you don't build it, you just take it and use it, and you can store the data. You can do some of the caching and then search. You can basically most of the features you need from a server side, you can find it from this service like Firebase or Parts to make it really, really simple. I will show you an example, and then you will be surprised how simple it is to do some of the cool features. All right, so let's take a look at Firebase. So the goal today is I want to show you some of the cool examples you can build with Firebase and how do we set up this, how everything works together. All right, so let's create a new project. All right, so we'll do a lot of coding today. And I will start a new project. So this is lesson 7, Firebase Demo. Next, empty activity, and let's finish this. All right, and meanwhile, I will need to run, this time I need to run it probably using my phone. Okay, so let me chart that first, just in case we need that. Because the Genymotion do not have the Google library support, so that's why you might not be able to test it with the Firebase. All right, so let me try this. All right. Before we get started, okay, we need to set up the Firebase first. So Firebase is a service right now owned by Google. Right? So if you simply search Firebase, this is the one you want to go. All right, so right now it's maintained by Google. They have added a lot of new features. And then you need to go to the console just with your own Google account. And the first time you may have to open some of the Google projects. And right here, you can create a new project. I don't know if I can try to create another new project since I have a lot of projects. So yeah, I can still do 3 projects. So get this project name. I will do a social app demo. That's going to be the example for today. And region, and then use the default setting, accept, and then create a project. Pretty straightforward. Just create a project. Alright, so now the project's ready. And then once you log into your project, you can see they have added a lot of new features. So every little tab here, analytics, authentication, database, storage, hosting, call function, they're the things you can do with Firebase. The one we need most is this database. So they have a very cool database. We'll show you why this is very cool. You may also need to do authentication. So if you ever need a user account, a user management, use the authentication feature from Firebase. You can do storage if you want to save files, images, sounds, music, use this one. You can also do something called hosting. You can also build your own mobile application using their host. And notification, you can push it easily. You can do the remote configuring. So if you want to change some of the configuration remotely, they give you the ways for you to do. You can also do something for ads, for AdWords, ad indexing, search, and messaging. There's so many things. So all of these features, they share one thing in common. If you can want to do any of this by yourself from scratch, you need to write tons of code. You need to write your own server. But right now, using Firebase, you don't need to do that. Normally, you only need very few lines of code, 5 to 10 lines of code. You can do a lot of the complicated features without using Firebase. All right, so that's the goal. All right, so let's first of all set up the project. All right, so they should give you some of the good tutorials here. If you click on this, they want you to do the project settings, and then you just need to follow the steps here. And they will ask you, do you want to use this in the iOS app, in Android, or some of the web application? All right, so in this case, we're talking about Android. All right, and then we need to register our app. And then first of all, you need to provide the package name. So let's go back to the project. And then we have generated this package name right here. So I can find out this package name from the Gradle file, which is this one. All right, it's a pretty long package name, but that's what we have chosen. And then the app nickname optional. It's okay. You can put it this certificate, the private key. You can also put it. It doesn't matter. I just want to put the package name here. Register the app. All right. Now after that, you need to download this specific configuration file. All right. So it's called google-services.json. So just download this file, and they're gonna show you where you put this file into your project. So you have to put it in under this app folder, just in the root of the app folder. All right, so here is the file. Copy the file, go back to Android Studio, and if you don't really see that folder, if you see yours doesn't look like the same as this, it's because the view is different. So you have to switch to the project view. All right, so click on here, click on project, and then that's how you can find the actual file folder. So you want to paste your configuration file under this folder. So I'm going to paste this one here and change it name to Google Services, and then here you go. So if you open this file, it basically has all the information related with the project in the Google Firebase, such as project number, the URL, the project ID, everything. Okay, so once your app has been built, Google will know how to find out your backend service in Firebase based on this file. That's the purpose. Once it's done, click on next, and then we need to add the Firebase SDK. All right. So to do that, let's just follow this. You basically need to add some dependencies into the Gradle file. So one thing is we need to add this line. So you just copy this. As you can see, they really make this whole tutorial very user-friendly. Let you to follow. Click on this, it says it's copied, and then put this one into your build.gradle file. So let's go back here. They ask you to put it under the build script and the dependencies right here. All right, so let's do it here and click on sync. And after that, they also ask you to do this into the other build file. So that one go to here. Okay, so we should go put that into one of the build script dependencies. Oh, sorry, this one. Yeah, just dependencies. And then you need another one called apply plugin. Put it right here. And then finally you sync. Alright. So, compile. Let's just change it into implementation. Sync it. Alright, everything done. Okay, so don't worry too much. Sometimes you see this weird red line that just says about some of the version thing. If you can build your app successfully, don't worry about it. I will talk more about this whole version thing maybe next time. But for now, don't worry about this. Alright, so looks like everything has been set up. And then next you click on next. So they even give you this one to let you to verify if everything has been set up correctly. Alright, so now I'm going to run the app first. And then they will be able to build your app and then say that detect if you have connected successfully. So this time I'm going to use the phone. So remember, if the general motion doesn't work on this, you have to basically use your actual phone, or maybe the Android emulator. I haven't tried that yet, but we can try it. So this is just a way to kind of let you see the screen of my phone. Let's not see it. There's some errors. Alright, let me first, you know what, let me first use the emulator, and then maybe that one might work. Okay, so let me run this using this. So last time I had some good experience with this. It was pretty fast. Delete fail. What does that mean? Let me start this. Alright, this time it works. Looks like it works. That's good. And then let's see if that's got connected. And if that's connected, this one should be automatically refreshed. Alright. So we can wait a little bit. This may take some time. Yeah, as you can see, they can detect it. Basically, once you plug in the SDK, you configure all the authentications. They must talk to Google. So once Google got the request, they will be able to update the notification here. And then here you can go to the console. That means your app has been successfully configured with the Firebase. So that's a very good first step. All right. All right, so once you can open the project, you will see all the tabs, the information you can do here. Now, the most important one is something called database. All right, that's where we can start to use and then save some data. All right, so they have a lot of tutorials, but I can tell you this database is very easy to use. Right, so let's actually first by creating a new database. All right, and then the database will have the permission to let you to control who can actually write and read, and then you can have user to authenticate before you can allow them to read and write data, or you can just make it public. All right. To get things started, I will just choose this test mode, so anyone will be able to read and write our database, because that way we don't have to worry about authentication. You can start to use that very quickly. All right, so I'm going to enable the test mode, and that's going to configure some of the security rules that allow everyone to access the file. All right, very good. Now they actually have changed the UI. Wow, it was not like this last time. Called Firebase. Okay, let me see that this is I'm going to switch to the traditional one. Okay, so I don't want to risk and then use the new one without knowing it very well. But I guess it's more kind of a UI change. So they give you these two different database. I only don't know what's different, but the new one probably have some new features. Let's just use the old one, which is called real-time database. Now, once you open your database, you can have the data, you can have rules. The rules is just says that you can have anybody to read and write. Well, I guess they are not doing this for us, so I have to change this one to true. This one also to true, so that you can allow anyone to read and write. So they give you some warning. This one is public, so anyone can actually change it. It's fine. I just want to show this an example. You can also backup. You can also check the usage, how many connections, how much data you have used to upload and download. All right. Now this is your database. All right. So they gave you a unique ID for you to use. That URL is the actual URL to find their database online. Now, first of all, you should know this is a NoSQL database. Right. So if you never heard about NoSQL database, it's just a new type of database compared with the traditional relational database. So if you're talking about NoSQL database, it's very easy to understand. It's basically look like a big hash table. So you always have a key and then you have a value. All right. So for example, if I want to add a record here, my key is student ID, and then the value will be some kind of Bronco ID, and I can add it. So key value pair, and I can add another key address, and then the value would be some kind of address, right? So the key had to be unique. Right, so if I do the address again, it will either show you the error or maybe update. So for example, if I change this one to here, so it's going to update because the key is unique. And then each unique key will determine the same record. Okay, and then you can do more complicated things. For example, I can do something called courses, and I can save a list of courses. And in order to do that, I can continue to press this. Oh, I can say that course 1, and which is, I will do that CS 499, which is mobile application development. And I can do another course, CS 356, object oriented design and programming. Right. So courses could contain multiple records, but each record must still have a unique key and then associate the value. And then you can also add more levels of data. Like here, the courses I have faculties. For faculty, you can do the same. You can have faculty number, 001, and then that one can contain a name, rank, and you can add it. So now you're getting actually multiple levels of data. All right, so I can then add a faculty 002, and then you can give a name, and then you can give a rank, add. So there are 2 records. It's basically like a tree, but as you're building the tree, you need to think about what is your key, what is your value, and then they can always save all of this for you. Now the benefit of doing this is you can easily query stuff. So if, for example, I want to query this faculty information with ID faculty 001, and I can directly go to this location, and then it can find that very quickly because I can find out the key based on the path. So I will show you how exactly that works. All right, for here you can have a feeling on how this database is working and how to add data and delete it. If you don't want some of the data, just delete it. All right, so it will be gone. All right, I can just delete all of those. All right, so that is your database. But right now, every operation I'm doing is on the database server side itself. I'm using this web portal to manage my database. But what we want to do now is go back to your app and use the Android SDK to access your database. All right, so let's work on that. So I'm going to create this little social kind of app. All right, so kind of similar to the Facebook app we did before. I want to show you a list of friends, and then you can add friends by giving a name, some information, and maybe a little image. All right, so we can try that. So let's design that app. Now, first of all, I go back to Android. All right, go to resources. All right, so the activity main. Come back to the text editor. All right, so let's start changing this. So I'm going to do things very quickly this time, since you are already very familiar with most of the things. I will have a linear layout. And then I'm going to define this at the top. I can start to add user information. All right, so I want to have some edited text. The first one is going to add a name. And then we're going to ID, name, edit text. And then second one, you want to have a name, maybe school. Right? Right, and then the third one, you can input a URL. URL will be too difficult to input, so we can just again predefine some of the images with some kind of ID, because otherwise, you know what? Let's not worry about the URL. I'm gonna just keep this, and then I can put a button. All right. So for button, I would just wrap content, and then we go to ID. Here's the add button. Text, add friend. All right, so that's the first part. Just input those two, click on button, it's going to add a friend. Whenever you add a friend, the friend will be able to show up here in the list. So I'm going to need a list view here. Mesh parent, and then wrap content. All right, give ID, friend, list view. All right, so that's going to be my main UI. Pretty straightforward. All right, so just have the two views, and then you add, and then the friend will show up here. However, this time, all the friends I'm adding will be added to the database, which means next time when I restart the app, I will be able to see all the friends here in my list. All right, so that's the first step. Now, let's start to work on the adding user first. All right, so let's come back to my Java class. So this time I'm going to review some of the library we talked about last time. Now, first of all, we need this thing called Butterknife. That's the library that allows you to easily control the UI stuff. So you need to add this one to your Gradle files first. Sync your project. Alright, here we have edit text, name, edit text. We have edit text and also school edit text. Alright, you can do a bind view r.id name text edit text, and then same thing r.id and then school edit text. Alright, and then after that you can do a button. So for button here, add button click. And you can put an annotation called onClick r.id.add button. And then here you need to do a bind. So everything will be put together. So whenever you click on a button, we need to send our information to the database. All right. So let's work on that. And then to send it, you can do one thing here. Well, first of all, we need to talk to the Firebase. We need the SDK. All right. So let's take a look at some of the examples they provided. So if you look at they have some nice documentation. So go to Docs. Android. And then you want to look at something called a real-time database and see how do you start that in Android. To use this, you have to add a database dependency. Let's copy this. Go to your Gradle file again. And under this one, you have to add the Firebase database dependency. And then after that, you're good. All right. So to start to write a record, so they give you an example, writer database, just 2 lines, 3 lines of code. You can get database reference. All right. And then followed by getting a reference. So the reference really means the path. All right. Remember, in this database, you can have multiple levels. So if you want to specify where you want to add that, a record, for example, I can have my first level called friends. Okay, and then after that, I can have a friend ID, and then name, everything. So for example, every friend will have a particular ID, and then the very first one will be friend 001, and then you will have a name, and also you have a school, or something like this. All right, so if my final database looks like this, the reference determines where you want to add that record. So I'm going to choose the friends. So everything will go under friends. You don't have to create this one first. If the reference doesn't exist, they will create that for you. All right, go back to the documentation. All right, and then you can see I want to set that particular value to something. So let's see what happens. So if I do this, set friends to be hello world. All right, first of all, let's actually test the whole connection works. So I'm going to run this. All right, so the app starts. I'm going to click on Add Friends. All right, now come back to my Firebase. You can see Friends, Hello World. Okay, because I just use this reference and then set the value to be this, so that gave me a key value pair. All right, so that's how the whole database works. However, right now we have to add multiple records. We need a name and school, 2 fields. The best way to do this is we use a class to do it. So what I can do here is I can create a specific class called friend. Friend has a name, also has a school. So with that, I can create a friend instance. So I can set name to be the name edit, get text to string, and then I can also do set school based on what you type for the school. And then this time, if I try to set the value, I think it will be automatically put everything into the right format. So let's try this again. Name. Oh, you have to type this. Oh, this is not very convenient. And then CPP, add friend. So go back to the database. So here we go. All right. So this time, friends is a key, and then you send the whole thing as a value. But then when you send an object, if your object that you're using the getter and setter, they will be able to figure out the name and the value for you directly. Okay. So that's how you can add a friend. But now there's one problem. If I keep adding another one, so if I do another, are we able to trigger the soft keyboard? Let's see. Yeah, anyway. So if I do another name, and then add a friend, as you can see, once I click on add, it updates the database, but then it overrides my previous record. So why is that? If you look at the code, how I save it. So I basically find out the reference and then set the value, and that automatically just override the previous one. So that means no matter how I add my information, if I do a different one, if I add, then that's going to override the previous one. Why is that? Well, because they share the same key. Because every time the reference goes to friends, and that's it. That's always the key I'm using. That's why you see the same thing being overridden again. So that's why normally if you want to add something, you have to provide the ID first. Okay, and then the ID had to be unique. So there's different ways to do this. One thing I remember, they can actually add something for us. Add. So they can do let's see. All right, so let's just be specific. Instead of friend, you have to do a friend slash some kind of unique ID here. All right. So let's try to generate a unique ID. And to generate unique ID, I can just generate a kind of a string. So in Java, I can say Java random UUID. Let's see how to generate a random UUID here. Oh, that's very complicated than what I saw. So let me try this. Alright, so that seems to work. Let me try this. So I will generate a random UUID. I'll call this friend ID. In fact, I will actually save it in my friend. So in the friend, I will add one more attribute here. ID. This one also has a getter and a setter. And then for here, what I will do is just friend set ID. Okay, with that I can set my friends. Now this time, when I'm doing it, the key has to include that ID, otherwise it's not unique. So this one is going to be plus friend ID. Right, so now the key becomes longer and also the key becomes unique, and then let's see what happens. Before I'm trying it, I'm going to delete everything I have so far. Let me try a new name here. CPD, and then click on add friends. Alright, so now the friends has a unique ID, and then the ID the same one here, but then you have name and school. The nice thing about doing this is if you add another user, and then I add a friend, so we've got a new record with a new ID and name and school. And then they're not going to override with each other because right now your keys are different. Because that's the key to use a NoSQL database. The records is uniquely determined by the key. As long as the key are different, they will be saved separately. Alright, so that's how we can add our data to the actual database, Firebase. Alright. And next thing is we need to know how to read the data. Okay, so we basically have to read the whole list of data from the Firebase and then show it here in the list view. So we need to build our list view first, very quick. Okay, so we do the same thing here. So just kind of as a review, you need to have a layout for your list view. So I'm going to call this list view item, friends item, friend item. Horizontal. Alright, so I will have a text view. Okay, let's say I'm going to use a percent here, so I will do it 0 dp and wrap content. And well, I can do this one first. So wait, I'll do a little container to put those two. This is 0 dp wrap content. All right, just some formatting. I'm going to just do it by myself. So I want to put two things up and then below. So this orientation is vertical. All right, so the text view here is going to be name text view. All right, so this one here will be school text view. All right, so this one will have a weight. So this one is going to take 4. And then we may also need a little icon here. Okay, so image view, wrap content, and then this one has a weight of 1. 0 dp. And then this one we need to provide a little image. I'm going to put the placeholder image first. So user icon, something very small. Okay. For the size to be 9292. Some kind of generic user. Let's just use this one. Alright, save image, user icon. So copy this over to your drawable, paste it. Alright, now here you can do user icon. Alright, so that's your user. And then let's also put some name text here. Okay, so this is your name, and that is your school. Alright, so let's center this. So this one is going to be gravity, not that gravity. So we should put layout gravity. All right, and then this one, the height should be just wrap content. All right. So add some margin for first of all. Everywhere should have some kind of. Let's do some padding this time. So 10 dp, 5. All right. And then here, let's do some margin. So margin left, 30 dp. Right. And but then this one also had to be moved to the left. So margin left, 20 dp. Alright, so that's our user. And this one also goes to 20, so they have the same space. Name, maybe size a little bit bigger. Text size 18 sp. Style, text style will be bold. And the other one, the text size, maybe 16, right, and not bold. Right, so that's a little user information here. All right, so what else? So I think that looks good for now. Okay, so let's just use that one for now. All right, so ID, and also the image. So let me give an ID here, just in case we need it. So user image view. All right, so that's your view. And then to show it in your list view, so we need to actually implement our list view here. Friend list view. And if you remember, this is adapter view, and then we need an adapter. So let me create this again. This is my third time creating it. All right. So creating adapter follows a very standard way to do it. I will call this friend array adapter. That extends something called array adapter. Okay. And then I can put some generic information. This one deals with friend. You generate a constructor. I normally like to use list. And then inside, you have to save the context as well as the data, a list of a friend. So in the constructor, you have to first of all instantiate this. And then the only method you have to implement is something called getView. All right. To get the view, follow exactly the same kind of approach this time. So you need a layout inflator. So context, get system service, and then you need a layout inflator service, and then cast the type. After that, you can create your view by inflating that layout. r.id layout.list item, and then the parent is the parent, and then finally there is a false. Always like this. You're never going to use the second way to do it. Eventually, you're going to return this view. All right. From that view, we can set the actual text view. So name text view will come from view.frontView.id, name text view. And then you have the same thing for school text view. All right, and then we can set this. All right, so its name text view should be your friend list, get the actual position, get name. And then school text view, the text should be from the list, from this position, and then you get the actual school name. And then you're done with initializing your list view. All right. So come back to my main activity. Normally, we will create a list. So private list friends. All right. And then once the program starts, I'm going to create a new array list to store all my friend list. So each time, once I add it to my database, I also want to add it to my friend list. Getting another friend, right? And then once I have done that, I will basically, you know what? First of all, I need an adapter. Right? So this one here, you got a friend array adapter. So you have to create that adapter. So you got a context, resource, the list item, resource, and then finally your friend list. But in the beginning, it's empty. However, after that, whenever you add a friend, you're going to add it to the list. Well, you don't have to add to the list. You should add it to the adapter. Add friend. Add it here. All right. And then one more thing to do to refresh. What should we do? Do you remember? Once you change something in the adapter. Yes. Notify, right? So you have to notify and tell people that the data set has been changed. All right, so let's verify this. All right, so let's add some kind of name and the school. Add friend. No, we haven't set the adapter yet. So the list view should set the adapter to be friend list adapter. All right. So name, school, add friend. All right, so here's the first friend. And I change the school name a little bit, add a friend. That's the second one. And I change the name, add a friend. So now I got 3 friends. And all the friends are also shown in the database. So right now. But you can see the problem right now, the database has more, but we just add 3, but then the list view doesn't show all the list friends we have added so far. The reason is we haven't really implemented loading the friend from the database. So let's do that part. So once the app starts, what I should do right now, as you can see, the friend list is empty. And if you don't click on the button add, the adapter never got updated. But we should actually read data from Firebase. Okay, so let's create another method. Load friend list. So with that, we have to take a look at how do we read from our database. It's very simple, something like this. All right. So you do same thing. Create a database reference, and then you want to find out the actual reference you want to read. If you want to read a specific user friend, a friend ID, you have to do this. Otherwise, I can just do this. I want to get everything from that friends list. Now, if you have this, and then you can follow this called my reference add value change event change listener, and then create this new listener here. So that's the way that you read the data. You basically trigger this and then register the listener whenever there's things being changed. You want to be notified so that you can receive all the data from the server, from the database. This data snapshot is going to contain the data you want. So if you do the data snapshot and get value, and then it will actually return you everything you need. So, but then the tricky part here is the data snapshot. You need to know the structure here. So if you have multiple records, so you have multiple children here, then you have to get them one by one. So let's see how it works. Because right now here, if I do get friends, I'm going to get all these 6 friend records. And I need to basically iterate them one by one and then turn that into a friend object. So the way to do this, let's try this. I'm going to have a for loop. And then the data snapshot get children. That's going to be giving us another data snapshot. Because now we have multiple records. And in every record, you can get the ID, you can also get the value. So ds get value. And then you can just get value by default method, or you can say, well, turn the value into a class, which is our case, turn that into a friend. Let's see if that works. So that you will have a friend instance directly from the database. All right. And then with that, you can actually start to add this one to your adapter. So what I will do this time is, every time when there's a change, I'm going to basically rebuild my list view. So here, I will do this. I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to move this to here. So every time when there's a change, I'm going to rebuild the list. And then add this list to my friend list. So eventually I create a new adapter. And then reset my adapter. Okay. So this may not be the most efficient way, but it guarantees a very immediate update. All right, so if I start to call this one when the app runs, all right, it will do it. And then I will basically just delete this part here. All right, so let's see how it works. Since this time when I run my app, if it works, we should be able to see all the friend lists from the database. Remember, there are 6 friends right now. All right, so it looks like it works. So if I go scroll down, there's a total of 6 friends in my database. Okay, so this one comes from the server side. Okay, let's go through the code again. Very simple. On create, load friend list. What you do is you specify the actual reference, the path you want to read. It's going to give you everything on the right-hand side. And then you use this listener, they give you the data snapshot, and then depending on the structure, if it's a single value, you can get the value directly. If it's a collection, in this case, you can have an iteration to get every child one by one. And then every child has a key and a value. The key is this, and the value will be this. So the value, I can turn that into a friend object, since I have all the names, properties corresponding to the content stored in the database. And every time I generate a friend, I add it to the list, and then I recreate my adapter, reset my adapter, so my list view got updated. All right? Does that make sense? So now, let me show you this. Now I want to ask you, what happens if I add a friend here? So right now, if I add this again, I will, again, just use the same approach, add the 7th friend, and then push that to the database. So let's see that. So I will do another, let's put a new name here. I'm going to put, again, my name here, just to be clear that why it always do this. All right, school. All right, so just to know that this is a new record. So this time I'm going to add a friend, okay? Add a friend, come back to my database. I should have a new record right here. This is a new one I just added, all right? So this didn't exist before. But then coming back also to my app, I want you to see something very interesting. You see? This one also shows up here in the list view. Now, if you remember my code, I actually moved the code to here. So this one here, I didn't really change the adapter. You see, previously I have to call this notify adapter. Now you don't really see the notify adapter. There's no notify adapter. So how did this one work? Why this one here actually automatically added? So this one, you need to know the really cool part about the Firebase. This is not a typical Firebase. The reason this company got a lot of traffic and attention in the very beginning was because of this. All right, so this database feature, they call it a real-time database feature. That's the most important feature they implemented. The reason they call it real-time is every time when there is a change, everybody who are using the database got notified. All right, so what happened here is this. So you have already set up a listener to listen on the database on those values. So if anything changed on that site, the Firebase will notify the Android code here, something got changed. All right, so then your message here will be executed. So the moment you add a friend from here to the server side, then the server side send a response and then give an event notification. This code will be triggered. So it will read it again and recreate your list and then refresh your list view. So even though you do not write the refresh code by yourself, this listener got triggered every time. To prove this, okay, let me just run this again. I'm adding another one, this time a new one, just USC. I add a friend, and then if I come back here, you can see it still has this new record, USC record. I added this one, it shows up here, and then when there's a change, it sends the notification back to here, and then this one will be notified. This is called real time, okay? I don't know how you feel about this. This is actually a very cool feature. If you want to implement everything by yourself, using a server-side programming, it takes you a lot of efforts. You need something called a WebSocket to do this. They already implement this for you. So that's why I want to show you this again. Now, in this view here, okay, you can see all the records, but there's one thing you probably don't know. If I, for example, I do this, let me add one more, okay, I'm adding a new student here, Jim. I want you to watch here. The moment I add a friend here, okay, you see the change on the website, okay? Again, this is another proof that the database is real time. Whenever you add something, it shows up here. I don't have to click on this refresh button. It refreshes automatically on that part because it got notified. So this web portal, your Android phone or anywhere else you're in a database, you are synchronized automatically. Once I change the database, everybody got notified. Right, so here's one more interesting you can do. I'm actually moving this one here. I want you to watch this app here, okay? So this little app. And then right now you already know that I have all the database here. First one is this DGGH. It probably is this record right here. DGGH SGHDD. Alright, so I will randomly putting a number here. I want to see what happened if I start to change here. So name, I'm going to change this with Allison. Once I hit enter, let's see what happened on this side here. If I hit enter here, did you see? It's got updated automatically. And if I start to change this, you see Riverside. I hit enter, that one got updated. How cool is that? Right? It's very difficult to do this by yourself. I only wrote how many lines of code here? Literally only 77 to 50, 20 lines of code here. That's it. 20 lines of code here. It does this automatically refresh. The most challenging part on the networking is handled by Firebase. You change here or change here, it doesn't matter. As long as you change the data source, the rest of us got notified. Alright, so it's a fully synchronized real-time database. That's a very cool feature. With this cool feature, you can just do so many things on your mobile app. A lot of cool things. For example, you can make a chatting app very, very quickly, without any efforts. So today, if you want to make, for example, a WhatsApp messenger app, it will probably only take you 1 week to get to the point that they spend probably months to do it. So it's really simple if you have this kind of backend support. All right. try to learn how this thing works, and then you will do a lot of cool things, with this. So why this one is useful? All right, let me show you. So this one give you a lot of flexibility. Like this image here, okay, I didn't do it. The reason is it's very hard for you to type a URL here. But I think maybe I can change it from the backend here. So let me implement that feature. So to do that, I need to go back to my friend and then change this by adding a URL, a image URL, okay? And then I can just get it in the setter. So from here, I will say that in the adapter, so now we got a third one, I will have image view, font view by ID. And then for the image view, we need to set the actual image. Remember I told you a library last time to load some URL directly online. It's called Picasso. Alright, so let's get it. This is also one of my favorite libraries. It just makes everything so simple. So come here, dependency, edit, sync, and then from here, and you can see that, well, image view, Picasso. So Picasso get load the URL. URL come from friend. So friend list get position, and then get image URL. Load that into this specific image. That's it. One line of code, you can get this one working. All right, so that's it. However, not every friend will have an image URL. So we do this only if your image view, the URL is not null. All right, so get, and then we're going to set up this because right now we don't have it. All right, so if you do this, when I run this, when you just start, you don't have URL. Okay, so that's fine. We're going to show the default. But as you start to put some of the URLs, the URL will show up. User icon. Let's do some of the small size. Again, 92, 92. So if I start to use this one here, let's find out that image address. All right, so if I do this, let me first verify this one works. So that's the URL, okay? I'm gonna put this one here into my database, like the very first one, that is it. Okay, I'm adding a URL, it's called image URL, I guess. It has to be the same name so that it will be translated. I paste the value here, I add it. All right, so that's wrong. Oh yeah, it shows up. You see it? Well, of course, the size is wrong. The reason would be, okay, so we can do this, I guess. We can set up something here. So when you load, you can specify the dimension. Let me see. Resize. Okay, center crop resize. So yeah, I will do the resize. Load, resize, 92, 92. Not sure if that helps. Okay, let's give it a try. It's probably the kind of a unit. Alright, so what I would do is this. The best way is, for this one, you probably have to hard code that dimension here. Alright, so adjust bounds true, and then the scale type, center crop. Alright, let me first of all see if that helps. Yeah, that kind of I think that helps. Alright, so that's one image, and let's try others. Alright, so I want to change and add another one. Let's do this. Click copy image address. go to my user database. This one doesn't have the URL, that's okay. I'm going to put this at, and then it will be loaded. All right. The whole thing, the change from server side to the client side, it's instant. I didn't do anything. And then also download the image is also handled by the library. So everything is so easy to do because of all these cool services. Right, that's why with Firebase you really can do pretty much anything you want. All right, any questions? All right, let's do a little bit more. And I promise that since we can do a messaging app, I can show you how fast we can do a messaging app here. Okay, so let's do this. Now, this is my social app. I click on one of the user. I'm going to start to chat with that user. It's real-time chat. Okay, and then I need to think about the best way to simulate this. All right, so I click on this user, and then I'm going to chat with that user. But then I need to decide myself first. All right, so it looks like we need a kind of a login system first. So we need to have an account because I need to know who I am, and then when I talk to somebody else, I'll be able to talk, to know the other one. All right, so let's do that. Since we're going to talk about that, I'm going to implement a very quick authentication. So again, if you do want to do the authentication, use Firebase. So take a look at authentication, Android, and sign in with a pre-built UI. Wow, they have this. Alright, so let me see how complicated this one is. If it's not, we can use this one. Otherwise, I will use the simple one. Alright, let's try this. Since this is new, I really want to see how it works. Alright, so add dependencies, authentication. Second one, Facebook, and then Twitter. Yeah, we don't really need this. Let's not use those because it's going to complicate things. I just want to use the basic authentication. Alright, once you have this, console authentication. Alright, so go to the authentication section here. We need to do some configuration and then sign in message. So I want to have the basic email password. This one should be enabled. And then phone, they have improved a lot. Okay, and then Google. All right, so let's just do this. All right, and then after that, Google is required that. Let's not worry about that. And then here, Facebook, you need to do that. We don't need it. All right. So the UI, you just need to know, create a sign-in intent. All right, let's see exactly how this one works. Okay, so I think I got it. So let's try this. I will need to create a new activity. All right, so this one is for us. Sign in. So it looks like we do not need to build all those views by ourselves. I can just have one button, just very quick as a text. Okay, I will have a button. text login, or ID login button. All right, that's it. So if you query this, and then I need to come back to add another activity, so login activity, and this one extends the app compact activity. So this one choose overwrite on create method, and then we need to set content view r.layout, and then activity sign in. From here, I will do the Butterknife. Bind this so that I can write something very simple called login query. So this one here is bond view ID, and then this one is login button. All right. So if we click on this, on query, and then we're going to copy their code here. All right, so we need to have a provider. So we just need email, phone, Google. That's it. All right, so we only need 3. And then here we just need to start this activity. So if you click on the login button, we start this one. Copy this little constant here. All right, finally, you need to implement an activity result. So that means if you have successfully signed in, it's okay, and then you're going to get this Firebase user. So that user is going to have the information. So let me print something here. Login. So user should have an email. I think just to string. You can see everything here. Okay, I see it. If you successfully log in, you can see that. Otherwise, I would say that it's failed. Failed to log in, and I can make a toast message. Failed to log in. All right, so let's try this, and then with that, this one had to become the activity. Why is there an error? All right, and then the manifest file, I have to add a new activity, which is a login activity, and then this activity should use the main method. All right, so let's try this, guys. So I never tried this. Hopefully this one worked well. So now I start the app. It's going to start the login screen first. All right, and this time if I click on login, all right, so it asks me to update the Google service. Let's see if we can update that one. I don't know if that works. That's kind of bad. Do they have Google Play here? All right, so do they need a kind of login? Let me try this. Let me use my own. I can't type it. All right, so let's see if we can log in this. All right, next. Alright, so let me see if they ask me to upload this again. Where's my app? This one here. Alright, so log in, update. So could you actually update? Does the update? Why don't you update? Alright, let me try my phone one more time. See if that one works. So that's the kind of a shortcoming of using the emulator. The emulator has everything but the Google services. Some of the apps Google normally use, like Gmail or those, that's not really available, or at least it's not complete. So that's why, if you have that kind of problem, you might have to use a real phone to test it. Let's see. Or is that because I use this one? What if I don't use Google actually? So that's a concern. I don't want to use Google. Let me shut down this one. I don't really need that. And also I don't need a phone, I just need an email. Alright, so if that's the case, I only do this. What about dependencies? Alright, so that's it. Let me run this. Oh, wait, which one did I run? Alright, try this one more time. Nope. I asked you to update your Google Play services. Alright, so I got my phone open, and let me run it with my phone. Oh, how do I switch the device? Alright, let me close this. This is weird. Why I can't really use this app to check? Alright, try one more time. Alright, now it started to work. Let me see if we can see it. Just give me 1 minute. Installing. Alright, so here you use this software, you can actually see the actual screen of my phone. Okay, so it's just more convenient. Now if I try to click login. Alright, so this one looks like it works. Alright, so it asks you which email to use, right? This is pretty good. Nice. Yeah, let me just use this one. And then first name, last name, and then password. This one is not really your it's not really your email password, so it has nothing to do with. Okay, 6, save. So that asks you to sign up. All right. Wow, they have a lot of things like do this for you. So save password. Okay, as you can see now, once this one is back, log in. This one here is when you have the user successfully logged in. All right, so once you log, well, first of all, let me check you this, let you see this. So here, if you see the users, did you see there is this new email, everything, but you can't see the password because it's hashed, right? But everything has been implemented. This is a great authentication. They didn't have this. This is something new came in the past 1 year. All right, but then once you can successfully log in or authenticate, so let me show you this. So for example, if I stop this app, I need to clear all the data, so it will restart everything from scratch. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. I want to show you that if you successfully log in here, you will be able to see the actual user, and every user will have a ID token or UID. I guess that's the actual unique. That's the unique user ID here. Okay, so I can actually save this one here in my project. I will say this one is called user manager. All right, so this one I'm going to just use a global variable to store this, even though this is not like a best practice, but it's very simple. So if you got this one, I'm going to say that the user manager, the user ID will be the user dot get UID. Oh, my phone is dead. This is bad. All right, that's okay. I can let it charge a little bit. Okay, so this is the UID, and then so that will know it. Now, once I get to this point, I can actually start the next intent. So remember, I told you how do we start the next one. So intent will go to the next main screen. So main activity dot class from the current one, and then I start activity with this intent, so that you can pass this screen and then get to the next screen. All right. Yeah, this is very bad. The phone is dead right now. All right, let me see. I actually have another phone. All right, so I think this one has plenty of power like this. All right, good. All right, so got a new phone here. Let me start to connect my visor. Let me start this. So this is a new phone. Let me view. It's going to connect. So first time it needs to install this visor APK. Right. So just let's use the high quality settings. All right. So I'm gonna run my app again. All right. So run this. Use this new phone. All right, so let's try this one more time. I click on login. All update this? We should. Okay, so let me set up the Wi-Fi. Okay, guys, give me 1 second. Feel free to take a break, okay? But I'm gonna finish this soon. This is our app, and then log in. It's frozen here. Yeah, this is one of the old phones, so let's see how it works. Log in, update, please go ahead to update this. Alright, update. Alright, free space. This one is enough. Okay. So 90 megabytes needed. Why I can't do this? Oh, it's more. Yeah, it's, sorry about that. We should prepare that early. Let me see how I can get this in. Setting storage. What else I can delete? There's actually not many things installed here. Oh, the apps takes 1.6 gigabytes. Why is that? So Google takes so many. Google search. Let's yeah, we can uninstall this app. Alright, let's try this one more time. Let's update this. Alright, while we're waiting, guys, so I want to make a little bit of change here. So if you got, let's assume you got your user ID here, okay, which is unique. Right, let me see if we can see user ID. It's probably something like this. This is user ID. Now, I need to modify my database a little bit because right now, I would need to be able to differentiate the user list from friend list from every user. Okay, so which means this friends are my friends. It has to go through this friend and then with one more level. Okay, so if that's the case, whenever you start to add a friend, it should be changing your reference. The reference had to be friend slash your user ID here. That's how you can use you can use that key to differentiate my friend list from your friend list. Okay, so that's how it works. All right, so that's one step here. All right, so let's see. That's finished. All right, almost. All right, and then as we are adding the friends, we might also want to might also want to do another one. We need to put that user ID into here so that we know it. Right, so every friend need to know the friend user ID. What would be a good way to integrate it? All right, so let's just put that field here, and then we can later on associate it. So the friend here, user ID. We got one more field. And then we can actually update the user ID from here. Let's try this one later. Okay, so yeah, let's assume it's actually right here. So we'll add it. By default, I'm going to set something here so that we can see it. All right, this phone is really slow. All right, while we're waiting, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start implement another so we can come back to test it. So the next feature, as I mentioned, what I want to do is I have the friend list. I want to click on one of the friends. It's going to open a new window so that we can start to chat. All right, so that's the ultimate feature we want to get. All right, so I'm going to work on this. All right, so I'll try to do this as quick as I can so that to prove that the chat thing like this can be, it's doable. All right, so it looks like this one is done. Come back to here. All right, so my app still frozen here. Try this again. Log in. All right, so this time it should work. So it's going to ask me to do a email. What? That's just automatically log in? Let me see what happens. All right. Then which account are you using? Why this one automatically log in? Doesn't even ask me. Oh, I know, because this phone had that email address called yu.su.usa. That's why it automatically actually log in. All right, but it doesn't matter. Let me actually try something very quick, guys. So I want to rerun this. All right, so same thing. I do a login. It will check the user here, so automatic login. So this is a pretty nice feature. But then this time, okay, once I start to add a new user here, again, oh nice, this time I can type and add a friend. Add another friend. Now when you go back to take a look at my database, there's some changes here. So you see, I got this new long ID. That's actually my user ID once I log in. That user has two friends. You see the user ID and everything here. So if I'm logging with another user, and then you're going to see a different one. So I don't need this anymore. Okay, so I can just delete all of those. So now the friend list is under a certain user here. All right. Finally. All right, so I'm going to show more later on. We'll figure out a way to try to test it together so that you will see how this whole thing works. Now the next feature is that let me add one more. Okay, I got so I got here USC and another friend. So I got my third friend. Okay, that's good. Now what I'll do, I click on one of this, and I want to open another window so that I can have a chat window. So let's do that very quickly, guys. Feel free to take a break. Okay, I'm gonna keep coding this until we're done. And here is my new layout. It's vertical orientation. Again, I need a list view. I need a little like chat window here. So at the top, it's going to be my list view. This one is going to need a weight. I want this one to take all the space, but the other one at the bottom, I need another thing to for me to kind of put an edit text for my chat window. So to type my chat. So this one will be I think 0UP. Orientation, horizontal. Now we need a button. Send. Hint. Message. Type your message. Chat added text. And then we got a weight. What? Alright. So that's it. Alright, so that's our list view to show the chat history. This is a little box to type your edit text, and then here's the button. Alright, so 0DP and then wrap content. Alright, that's it. A very simple chat window. So when I'm opening this, I can have the two users to chat with each other. Okay, and from here, I will start to build it. So let me create a new activity. Chat activity. Extend app compact activity. And then I can do an overwrite. Set content view layout chat activity. Butterknife. Bind. It's all the repeating. The more you do in Android, you will find it's all repeated. So we need a chat added text. I need a button. Button, I don't need to type it. I need a list view. Basically the chat list view. And both in the bind view. I haven't sent that one yet. This one here, chat list view. Alright, so this one will be the chat list view. This one will be the chat edit text. That's it. And then whenever you click on the button to send, send button, the ID here. Alright, so then we need to figure out how we're going to implement this. In fact, the way to implement this is very similar to the one we did this list. So basically, we have to have an adapter and then put all the information inside. But then this time is a lot simpler because this list, the list view item chat is a very simple one. So we just need to put the text, all right, for the first version. All right, so height is wrap content, and then we need the text. That's wrap content. Text is just the chat message here. Okay, and then we want to make it like wider, so we can add some kind of padding, 10 dp. All right, so that's a good start. So we'll start from that. Okay. And then this one we need to give ID, chat, message, text view. All right, so that means we need to build another list view adapter. Okay, this time I'm going to copy this. I don't want to repeat all the code. So this one I will change it to chat array adapter. Okay, so everything the same. Now this one here should be a string, which represents all the messages. So this one, the chat list or message list. Alright, so message list. This one here is also string. This one here is also string. Alright, inside here, we need to change one to chat. Okay, and then we do not have that many. We only have a little chat message text view. Right, and that's it. That's our chat message. All right. Okay, so with this, now back to the chat activity, it's the same thing. We're going to load the chat messages. Exactly the same approach. And then we need to create a method to be able to use Firebase. Okay. And then we are going to do the same kind of a code as last time. So if you go back to the main activity, this is how you're going to do a kind of loading. All right, so I'm just going to copy this. So these are all the same. Now, first of all, the reference is going to be different. If you want to load the chat, so I have to save this separately. What I want to do now is I have a friend to just store the friend information. I want to have another one called a chat to store all the chat history. And then every chat, I want to differentiate them. Because if we're talking about the one-on-one chatting, so the two users involved should share the same key. All right, so I might design something like user1 dash user2. Okay, so that I know how to find out the chat group that we're using. And then inside here, I will have a list of messages. And I still need the key. I can use the time. I can use the timestamp. And then here is actually the message. That's kind of my approach. Okay, so let me show you this. So that's my first message. And then the next message will be on different time. And then I add it, so you will actually see all of those. So that's like, sorry, that's that override. I can add another one. add. So you will have a list of messages here. Of course, the user 1 and user 2, depending on who is a friend, I need to sort them. So maybe I can use certain order so that they can easily find it. That means once we get this into this app, all right, we need to know the actual user. So first of all, my user ID, I already know it. So it's actually come from the user manager dot user ID. And then the other user ID we create. All right, so that actually come from the previous activity. So we need to send it. So this is how we do it. So remember in the main activity, I have a list view here, right? So for the list view, you can do a list view on click on item quick listener. So whenever you click on something, you will know which one you're clicking, and you can actually get that friend that you selected from that list view adapter. Get item from that position, and that friend should have the user ID. That's the ID you should pass to the next screen. All right. So with this, you can create another intent. To the chat activity. That's how you're going to trigger the chat activity. And then from here, you can also put extra. You can say the target user ID should be the friend get user ID. All right, and then you start the activity. You will trigger the next screen. Once you get the next screen, you can actually get that user ID from here. So get intent, get string extra. That's going to give you the target user ID. So now that's how you get two user ID. But you need to sort them. Okay, how do we sort? We can say that, well, yeah, so basically do this. So the chat key equal to, if the user ID is greater than target user ID, then we're going to do the target user ID plus dash plus my user ID. Otherwise, I would do the other order. So whoever is smaller goes first. My user ID dash plus target user ID. So that's how. Oh, this one is not supported. I saw you can do it. Equals, right? Compare with, compare to. If that one is greater than 0, right? That's I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just have a fixed order. So if one the other, okay. So user greater goes to first, or the smaller goes to first. But I just want to form this chat key here, and I have to save this chat key because I will need it in many places. All right. So if I got this chat key, I'm already halfway done here. Now, whenever you try to load the messages, it goes from the chat, key. We should already initialize that chat key. And that's it. So from here, I can get another list of stuff. So the messages. Right now it's just string. Okay, so the messages. All right. And for the messages, show it here. This one just is simply a string. All right, finally your adapter. So we need adapter. So we have something called a chat adapter. And then that one should go to the chat adapter. Exactly the same thing here. Okay, I'm gonna put this in here. Instead of friend list, it should be the messages. Alright, so this layout is also different. Item chat. This one is chat activity. Alright, so finally your chat list view set adapter to be chat array adapter. Exactly the same approach. That's how we can load the messages. And then finally, how do we post messages? If you click on send something, I can, use the same approach here. Let's see how we send things right here. Kind of the same. Get the database, and then get the things you want to send. And this time, I don't really need a friend. I just need to know here is a chat plus that key, chat key. But I need one more piece of information, which is actually the timestamp, because I need to know the time you send it. All right, so if that's the case, I need to do system.current time news. I'll use that one as my key. And then finally, I'm going to send whatever I put in the chat edit text. All right. So let's test it, guys. Right. Oh wait, I think I forgot one thing. The new activity, I have to mark it here. Chat activity. All right, so I want you to follow my UI here. So let me delete this. All right, so log in. Successfully, go to the main UI. I've got my users. This is specific for myself. Okay, so it's my user list because now I have my user information here. I'm going to start a chat with Allison. So once I click on Allison, now first of all, we don't have a user ID here. So I'm going to hard code this one for now. Okay, later on we can change it. So let's assume there's a user ID. You know what? Why don't I actually create another one? Let me create this one very quick. I will create a user, and I have another email. It's all the test email. So same password 1 2 3 4 5 6. Add user. Okay, so that's a new user, and then I'm going to copy this ID here. Okay, use that. Let's assume that's Allison's ID. So I will change it right here. So the Allison's ID is this. All right. Now, when I go back to my app, I click on Allison. Oh, nothing happens. All right, why is that? Click on Allison. Well, I thought I have a adapter somewhere, right? Oh, I think it's wrong here. Okay, so rebuild. All right, try one more time, guys. And then later on, we can sign in with another user with this user ID so that you can see if the two actually can chat together. Okay. All right. Log in. I got my search friends. I click on Allison this time. Still not working. I thought I had that inactivity somewhere to handle the. So set item quick listener, and then intent. Go to chat activity. That's the view. Or maybe I have to reset this here. Otherwise, it's maybe not, like I do this afterwards. So probably because once I got a new data, it just kind of disabled. I'm surprised that's the case. All right, let's try this again. log in, click on Addison. All right, so we start a new screen right now for us to chat. Okay, so this is a very simple chat screen. All right, let's test it. Now I'm going to type my message first. All right, once I do this, the moment I send the message, let's see where it will be saved in my database. I click on send. All right, so guys, take a look at here. It automatically creates a record here under chat, and then it knows the ID, the other user's ID, so that's a unique combination for these two users. And if you expand it, this is the time, that's our message. And also you can see your message right here. And I'm going to keep talking. How is everything going? Send. Oh, it's a little bit slow, okay? It comes here. Are you still there? Send the message. Now the nice part here is if I go back and I come back to my chat again, the message is still there. Okay, that's exactly how all your chatting app works. It's just the moment you open it, you load it from the database, or maybe it's cached, but it doesn't matter. It always comes from the database first. But what if we also want to record who is talking about it? Well, that's easy. We just want to put more information to this side here. So because right now we only save one thing, which is the message. But you can actually literally build another chat thing here. I will call this message class. This message class has, first of all, a time, sender ID, and then the message. I can also put a type just in case we need that later. All right. So I'm going to send, from now on, the message will be more complicated. In my chat activity, just like this, from the message, and it will be like set time will be this, set message will be the actual chat message. And then we have another thing, the sender ID. So this will be the actual my user ID, user manager dot user ID. All right, so now we're gonna post this whole thing to Firebase as an object. So exactly the same way as we did here. All right, and then the other side is, well, if when you load all the activity, the messages, you have to parse it as a message. All right, so that way you can add it, and that need us to change this a little bit more. So this one, everything has to be a message class. So the adapter had to be also modified. This one is message, message, message. This makes more sense. So here is also a message. So the message, you can then get the message. So that's going to work the exact same. But since we have more information, I can start to put more stuff to my chat list. So right now I only show a message, but what if I want to show a time? Right, so I want to show a time and sender. So I can put it here. Maybe another text view below. Orientation vertical. So this one will be the time text view. 15, 7, 9, 12, 30. Alright, something like this. Alright, but this one will be a little smaller. So the font size, 12 SP. Right. and then this one size is 14 SD. Maybe we can also change the text color. That will be let's choose the color. So make color bigger. Alright, it's just a random color here. That's not very clear. Let's do a clear one. Right. And then the chat message. We can do this. Alright. Time. Yeah, let's put this both in here. Alright. Another cool thing is, normally we see the message ourselves sent on the right hand side, right? So if that's the case, we can do two views. Okay, let me first implement this. Alright, so I will put everything to the right. So the way to do this is the gravity right. Okay, the same thing here, gravity right. Okay, so that's one thing we can do. And then coming back to adapter, we need to change this a little bit. For the adapter, this is the message, and also we need the second one for the time. So we're going to get the time, but then we need to turn that into a readable format. How do we Java timestamp to date, local date time? All right, so how do we change this? Timestamp. All right, let's try this maybe. Oh, it needs more Java support. Oh, is there a simple way to do it? Actually, why don't we do this? New date time, right? New date, and then from the message list, get position, get time. So that's going to give a new date. Alright, so this one also has a local to local string. It's deprecated, but it works. Try it. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright. So let's try this one more time. And then I need to clean my chat database here. Alright, so let me restart it because I changed the format. Alright, same process, login. I want to chat with Allison again. So this time I type my message, send. Alright, so instead of having one simple message, now I got a message, sender ID, and also the timestamp. And also, check out here. This message here, the format has been changed. There's a message followed by a time here. So are you still there? Send, and then there's a second message. Let me know when you send. So it goes again. Okay, everything has been saved. So if I come back to the previous activity, come back here, you can actually load everything. All right. Now, so far everything I'm doing is just myself actually chatting it here. I can do another one for the other person. I just need to figure out how do I show it since the emulator doesn't work. So let me test something. Okay, I might have a Genymotion that might work with this. It's probably this one. Let me try it. It's been a while. All right, and then what I can do is I can just use the emulator. Well, I don't want to be downloading this one here. All right. So I will do this. Now this time I'm going to build a specific version for Allison just to skip that login. But I have the user ID here so that I can just directly copy that user ID. So what I will do is, so Allison's user ID is this. So I'm going to put that into the user manager here, set as a default ID. So if you don't do it, you're going to still have the user ID. And then I'm going to skip that login screen because this emulator can't really do it. Just for us to test it. Here's the main activity. Go to the main activity directly. And now this time I want to use a different device to run it. Alright, let me just unplug this. Run this with this device here. Put it back. Reconnect. Alright, this one still works, okay? This is my phone, okay? I go to Allison, I can still see all the messages. Now I'm installing a new version just for Allison. This one don't have a login screen, so that we can skip the login screen and then we can test this together. All right, so the building takes a lot of time. While we're waiting, I'm actually making another one that goes to the left for us to use. So this will take a while. So one thing we can change here is this. The way to inflate the view, we have two views. We have one for the chat, one for the left. All right, one more time. All right, finally. So guys, so let's come back to here. And let me clarify the things we have so far. So we have two phones. And then I want to show you they're chatting together. Remember, this one is Allison's user. I just did the login, but I hardcoded that user ID. Right now, Allison doesn't have any friends. So if you want to add a friend, add friend. Okay. So as you can see, this time, that's my friend list, then this is Allison's friend list. So it's separated. Okay. Now I have to do the same thing. We need to figure out how do we put the user ID. Maybe you have to do a different user table. So I'm going to copy my user ID here to this user ID here, so that if they click on my user, we can match the user ID here. Okay, that's the only thing we have to figure out later on. Basically, whenever you sign up, we need to put that one into some kind of friend database. Okay, so I can create another user here. All right, a different list. Okay, so that's Alice's phone, that's my phone. All right. So when I click on Allison, I can see this chat view. But when Allison click on my view, this is one. She can see the same, exactly the same message. And now we can actually start a chat. So you can say, sorry. Oh. I just saw the message. All right, click on send, and then it shows up in both phones. Now I start to type, that's okay. And click on send. So we both see it. Right? Anytime you can leave, I can keep typing. I just want to chat about the project, send, and then whenever she's back, then she can see all the messages out there. Okay, and then remember, here is how we handle everything. So all the messages we have information. So one more thing you want to do is, if you want to implement that left and right thing, so because right now we record the sender. So the sender, if the ID is equal to your own ID, that means it's your message, and then it shows to the right. Otherwise, it shows to the left. All right. So the way to do it is this. Let me see if this way works. So if I can get this message, I can get the sender ID. If that equals to the user manager, the actual user ID, all right. So I'm going to use this approach. Otherwise, I will instantiate with a different view, which is the left type thing. All right. With this logic, it might work. Okay, hopefully it works. So I'm going to run this again, but I'm only going to test it with this phone here. Okay. All right, so Allison's view, go to the chat window. So all the messages come from my side. She only sent one message. And then here, if I keep doing, when will you be available, send, it goes to that side. She said 10 p.m. Send, that goes to her side. But here I haven't updated my app yet, so I can't really see the chat. Okay, that's your chat, the basic your chat app. It actually only took 15 minutes to finish. I was spending all the time installing everything and then just build. All right. If you want to do even cooler things, you can start to send images. You can send sound. You can. All of those are pretty simple. I might talk about that next time. In Firebase, you can save some of the files. So that's you can't put a file into a Firebase record. You have to use a different service called Firebase storage. That's going to help you to implement those kind of features. But again, the coolest part is the real-time update. If you both are listening to something, you automatically can get notification and event notifications, so you can do something automatically. So anything with chat, real-time update, synchronization, notification, using Firebase, it's super simple. Normally, it's no more than 20 lines of code. Right, and without any cost. The Firebase has a free tier. I think it can support up to 100 users at the same time to do the synchronization. All right. So I really like this example because if you think about all this, WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, all this app, there's a huge number of users. Everyone's using it. Very popular apps. Normally, this kind of a social app is one of the most downloaded apps in any of the app stores. But to really implement it, it's not hard at all. Okay, so the version we're doing, that's pretty close to the real version. You can, by adding more features, make the UI looks better. You can really start to implement all these things. All right, so that's kind of the power you gain by using the backend like Firebase. All right. How do you like it? Or you got lost in the middle of the coding? This is no it's kind of a started becoming a little boring to me because I just repeat this again and again. It's not as technical as you saw. Um, if you do this 3 or 4 times, you can do the same thing. There's not much like technical thing to understand, especially this part here. Not sure if you have done native this video. All right, it's the same structure this time, same kind of practice and patterns. If you do it once, you learn it. Second time, you understand better. And third time, you can basically repeat very quickly. Right. So for Android development, you always use this type of things. That's what I want to focus in the class. All right. So I don't want to overwhelm you with more coding. This is good for you to finish your app. All right. So if you need anything, I think the Firebase could help to provide the storage, authentication. They make the authentication so simple. And you just need to connect the user ID, everything. All right. So this week, by the weekend, you should get a pretty decent version done. The way I define a decent version is you have at least one core functionality done to show how you solve that problem. Again, I wouldn't care how your authentication screen works. I don't care about how secure your app is. I don't care about your fast your app is. I just want to see if you can demo that one core feature that solved the problem you proposed in the very beginning. All right, but at least for that one feature, it had to work completely. That's what I call as MVP. All right, so think about the problem again, and then focus on that, attacking that one problem. Okay, whatever you need to do, finish that. Even if you have to hard code some ID, just like what I did here, that's fine. Okay, I know you can do that later, but show me your app can solve some problems. Show me your app is actually useful. That's the most important. I know you have very limited time. I'm not expecting to see a complete version, with a very professional UI. Okay, but you need to get one version with one feature, and then publish that to Google Play. All right, and then your presentation will be very simple. Talk about your problem, and then run your app and show us how you can solve that problem, and then let us see if we agree that that should solve the problem. All right. Any questions? Okay, so let's actually just stop here. Give you some time to work on your app if you want. I'll be here or in the office. So if you have some kind of coding questions, feel free to bring it here. I can take a look. All right. So the code, let me also push it to the GitHub. You can actually see it.